When I first came to Detroit in 1970, Detroit was the greatest, most progressive city in the country. It was a city where young African-American workers went into the auto plants, could make a decent living, and brought the revolutionary politics of the Black liberation movement into the working class struggle. In the 70s, we elected a Marxist city councilman, a Marxist judge. Our mayor would run for office with commercials about how he defied the House Un-American Activities Committee. But just as the ruling class will not put up with people's power anywhere, whether it's in Venezuela today or in Cuba or in Iraq, where they sanction it, they declared a war on the people of Detroit, and especially on the African-American community. The first aspect of that war was when the auto companies decided to restructure based on the new technology. But they used that restructuring as a weapon to destroy the power of the black workers in the auto industry. Chrysler, between 79 and 82, eliminated 35,000 decent-paying union jobs in the city of Detroit. Its workforce was reduced from 70% African-American nationwide to 30% African-American in a 3-year period off the backs of the workers in Detroit. And GM did the same thing in the 80s when it restructured. Sure, they were restructuring based on technology, but it was a weapon to use in a racist fashion to destroy the power of the most militant sector of the working class. But you know, Detroiters are resilient. And even after that first wave of war on the people, there was somewhat of a recovery in Detroit and a stabilization. And by the early 2000s, our neighborhoods kind of stabilized. Detroit was always a city of houses. We had the highest private ownership of housing in the country for working people. And then things had stabilized in our community, even price values were going up. So then what happened? The second war was the banks came into Detroit. They came in with their racist, fraudulent, criminal, predatory lending, putting 85% of the residents of Detroit into predatory loans, subprime loans, putting senior citizens into loans on fixed incomes, adjustable rate loans that rose to more than their whole income was, knowing they were doing it, paying people to do it, consciously doing it. If you don't believe me, read the Senate Select Committee report on Wall Street and the financial crisis. Between 2005 and 2007, 67,000 homes in Detroit were foreclosed in a 2-year period. Most of them ended up vacant. Tens of thousands or more were foreclosed in the few years after that. Our neighborhoods, instead of being vibrant neighborhoods, began looking like someone described Detroit like Sarajevo. And today we're the newest extension of that crisis with the tax foreclosures, which is really an extension of the predatory lending of the bank where property levels now don't resemble what people are being paid on it. The next aspect of not satisfied with destroying the economic base of the city, they then went to the city itself and put the city into predatory loans called interest rate swaps. And these are criminals. These interest rate swaps are loans where the banks would come in and tell the city, look, you got bonds that are adjustable rate bonds. You pay us the adjustable rate. You pay us a fixed rate. We'll pay the adjustable rate. Whoever comes out ahead pockets the difference. Of course, what happened was interest rates went down to zero when the banks got bailed out. So the banks started pocketing $50 million a year off the city budget, just stealing it out of the budget. And who were these banks? Bank of America, UBS, the same criminals that destroyed our neighborhoods. That's the context for the emergency manager struggle. The emergency manager bill, when you read it, is a banker's bill. It allowed the emergency manager to destroy every contract but guarantee the payment of debt service to the banks. And when they went into bankruptcy, that's what the bankruptcy was about. Go after the pensioners who worked their whole lives. They took their health care. The pensioners suffered almost every cut in their bankruptcy was off the back of the pensioners. But make sure most of the bondholders in the banks got paid. And the representatives of the city, Jones Day, who are they? They're the lawyers for Bank of America, for UBS and all the bankers. And when we heard about it, the group I work, Moratorium, now we've been active in fighting foreclosures. We saw this as an opportunity to bring out reality. We started picketing every day we could. Our slogan was cancel the debt to the banks. Guarantee the pensions of the workers and the services of the people, cancel the debt to the banks. And there was one opportunity in the context of the bankruptcy, which was nothing but a bunch of crap, was a bunch of white lawyers from all over the country, who not one of whom ever knew a thing about Detroit, were litigating the future of our city. But there was one opportunity, and we intervened in it. And it was a chance to put the banks on trial. It was called a trial on the interest rate swaps. And I'm proud to say that I got into that case. I'd never done a bankruptcy case in my life. I know nothing about it. But I intervened not because of the law, but because of the politics. Because we wanted to bring in what this struggle is really about. It's a struggle against a system. It's a struggle against finance capital. It's a struggle against a capitalist system worldwide. They're strangling the workers and oppressed all over the globe. Look at what's happening in Greece now, which is just like Detroit. And they're putting all this pressure on Greece. They elect the government says we want to give our people health, a little bit of power. We want to give them a little bit. They want to give them food. Then you can't give them food. That's not austerity. You got to pay us. You got to pay the bankers. You are radical lawyers here. You know, when the Swaps case came up, you know, there were big-time lawyers from the UAW, paid big-time lawyers to come in. They asked me, paid big-time lawyers. But you know what? None of them intervened to fight the banks. None of them. That's what we're about. We are the lawyers who are ready to fight capitalism. We're ready to fight the system. And you know what? You can't win any gains for the people in this period unless you fight the system. We got to fight the system in the courts. We got to expose capitalism in the streets. That's the role. That's what the Guild was built on. That's what I hope it stays on. Fight the system. Fight capitalism. Don't be afraid, because that's what the struggle in Detroit's about. That's what the struggle in Venezuela is about. That's what the struggle in Greece is about. That's what the struggle worldwide is. It's a struggle of challenging a system that offers nothing to the working class and oppressed people. It's about profit, 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 and more profit. As Marx described it, they'd kill their mother to make a few extra dollars, but we got to fight them and say the right works in the only people who can run this world in a rational way are the workers of the world. Let's unite, and as lawyers and advocates be them, let's not be afraid to take on the tough fight that challenges the system. It's exciting, it's proud, and we can win.
Came up with a fill-in-the-blank form so any citizen could object to the proposed plan of reorganization for Chapter 9, and they got thousands of them. The judge ended up having to block out. How long did he block out when he's giving any citizen 5 minutes to object to the plan?
He sure did. 2 days.
Jones Day is opening an office in Detroit, by the way, and they have, this is on their website, this is a white paper on how Chapter 9 works, and it's obviously a brochure so they can sell themselves to municipalities who would like to do things like break their pensions or break their union contracts. Every action receives an equal and opposite reaction. The leader of the reaction to this reaction was our Field Marshal for Life, Jennings.